Welcome back to 𝑭𝒂𝒉𝒂𝒅 Media. An emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council was recently held to discuss an Israeli airstrike in Doha, Qatar. The meeting, requested by Algeria, Pakistan, and Somalia, became the scene of a heated diplomatic confrontation between Israel and Pakistan. Here's an insight into the altercation. The incident. The meeting was convened in response to an Israeli airstrike in Doha that targeted Hamas leaders. Pakistan, along with Algeria and Somalia, condemned the strike as illegal and a violation of Qatar's sovereignty. They argued that the attack endangered civilians and was an attempt to undermine ongoing ceasefire negotiations in Gaza. Pakistan's stance. Pakistan's envoy, Ambassador Asim Iftikhar Ahmed, strongly criticized Israel, calling it a rogue state and a serial violator of the UN Charter and international law. He asserted that Israel was the perpetrator of the worst kind of state terrorism, and was using the facade of being a victim to justify its actions. Israel's response. In a move that provoked outrage, the Israeli envoy defended the strike by drawing a comparison to the 2011 US raid in Pakistan that killed Osama bin Laden. The Israeli representative argued that Hamas leaders, like bin Laden, could not be given safe haven. This analogy was instantly condemned by Pakistan. The heated exchange, the Pakistani envoy fired back, calling the Israeli comparison unacceptable and ludicrous. He rejected the false analogy and pointed out that Israel, unlike Pakistan, was an aggressor and occupier. The debate highlighted deep divisions within the Security Council regarding the Doha strike and the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Wider context. The diplomatic altercation reflects the deep-seated tensions and opposing views between the two nations, which do not have formal diplomatic relations. The incident also brought to light the international community's divided stance on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the interpretation of international law, and the role of countries like Qatar in mediating peace efforts. Let's hear the public opinion on this matter. Commented at Fad Chishta. 6 minutes of pure, unshakable facts stripped of spin, stripped of propaganda, enough to shatter the facade of the most illegitimate state on earth, Israel. Dr.Manhattan also commented at Dr.Manhattan_. Commentary account. Words are just words. People mustn't cheer those governments' meek responses. Such weak govs should shut up and be ashamed of their failures. They aren't capable of standing up against these criminal states. An observer also chipped in at _Walsh_Coleman. Waste of time. Words and collective security are useless forms of idealism when it comes to power and action. Israel knows it and acts accordingly. That is why they do what they will, while others merely squawk. Major Crunch Time reacted at Crunch Time Captain. This is the reason the empire kept weakening the Muslim world, to have the entity try to genocide and steal all the land. Thank you for watching. This is 𝒂𝒂𝒉𝒂𝒅 Media. Please subscribe, share and like. You can also comment below. See you next time.
The representative of Pakistan has asked for the floor to make a further statement. I give them the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am obliged to take the floor to respond to some comments. The representative of Israel perhaps did not listen attentively to all council members and other speakers in today's debate. And in our view, it is unacceptable, indeed ludicrous, for an aggressor, an occupier, a serial violator of UN Charter and international law, that is Israel, to abuse this chamber and disrespect the sanctity of this council. And this is not the first time. And by pointing fingers on others, baseless assertions primarily aimed at masking its own illegal actions and violations of international law. President, but that's not at all surprising. It is an occupier that does not listen to anyone, that does not pay heed to any advice, even from its friends, if there are any left, that refutes, and not just refutes, it threatens members of the international community, international media, international human rights and humanitarian organizations, doesn't listen to the ICJ or the ICC, and threatens the UN and its senior officials. And it does that with impunity, shielded by its apologists who time and again acquiesce in its illegal actions and defiance of the international community. And like all occupiers, despite being the aggressor, it feigns and plays the victim. But today it is totally exposed. President, this Council has spent decades discussing the situation in the Middle East and the Palestinian question. Meeting after meeting, we devote hours to this agenda. It is not because of anyone else. It is because of Israel that refuses to vacate its illegal occupation, and that blatantly violates the resolutions of this Council. It's because of that we have these discussions. Israel also chose to refer to an unrelated incident and make misleading remarks regarding Pakistan in an effort to justify its own illegal actions and violations of international law. Pakistan's position on that incident has been clearly stated and is publicly available. The international community is well aware of Pakistan's frontline role and sacrifices in the international community's fight against terrorism. The entire world, including our partners, acknowledge that Al-Qaeda was largely decimated due to Pakistan's counterterrorism efforts. And we remain committed in this global, collective endeavor. We cannot accept insinuations from an irresponsible rogue state that is, in fact, the perpetrator of worst kind of state terrorism that we are witnessing in Gaza and, in fact, in the occupied Palestinian territories for decades. And we reject any false analogy, as has also been done by Qatar. For whatever way it interprets the statements in this Council, the occupying power must go back and read carefully the statement issued by the Security Council today.
Thank you for watching. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing so you won't miss out any of our latest video.